Now, The Key by Raymond Choi, what's interesting about his figures is they're a lot like the Dunnies that we looked at just a moment ago. They have something kind of unique about them. Notice here's a collector's box, and this is the sixth series. One thing that a lot of these urban vinyl designers, what they do is they take the figurines and they make limited editions. So we have, you know, maybe 100 are only made of a certain toy, and what that does is it makes them, more valuable for collectors. So here's just an example of the packaging that they'd be sold on. And now these are like 2.5 inches, and the thing about the keys is they're for, keychains. They're keychains, so they can so you can throw your keys on them. Raymond Choi is the owner of the company Toy2R, and you can see him here next to one of his large bear key sculptures. He was also born in Hong Kong, China. He has a little bit different approach to the urban vinyl industry. He enlists designers from all over the world to design the look of his toys. So he's created these like the canvas, these the figure like this little or not so little bear key that he's sitting next to is just white. And what he does is he enlists artists to create their own designs, um, around that formula or that template, that figure. So they would take it, paint it, draw on it, and send the designs to him, and then he would have those mass produced. Here's an example of some. I wanted to bring in something that had some wood grain on it because I just thought that was interesting that we take something that's plastic and make it look like it's wood. In the case of the shoes that I was talking about earlier with Michael Law, and then here's some Toy 2R wood grain bears. Again, many different artists. He said, sometimes that it might be even a record. They've worked with so many artists, hundreds of artists. Takashi Murakami is a Japanese artist who's born in Tokyo and works there today and has a number of studios around the Tokyo area. He's a painter, sculptor, designer, writer. He kind of does it all. Highly influenced by the manga and anime artistic traditions of Japan, and his work is, definitely inspired and kind of in conversation with these designer toys. And by the way, one thing I want to mention is that Murakami is not just a famous artist in Japan or in this kind of manga or anime kind of world, but one of the most famous contemporary artists right now. This is a piece that's actually owned. Well, actually, it's owned by someone I believe from Minnesota. It is on loan to the Minneapolis Institute of Arts right now. That's the museum downtown Minneapolis, our big art museum. This is Panda by Takashi Murakami, and you can see some striking similarities between this sculptural work and some of the art toys. I mean, it has the kind of very stylized eyes, simplified features, bright colors. One thing that's interesting about Murakami is that he is interested in both the art world and the design world. He's interested in fine art and low art. Sometimes people try and make distinctions about the art that's in museums, which we sometimes refer to as high art or fine art, and the art that is seen on the streets, like, um, you know, rock posters or graffiti, um, things like that, designer toys as low art. But for Murakami, he kind of plays around with all of these worlds to kind of mix together. Now, these are often a lot bigger than the art toys. But one thing that comes along with that size is a large price tag. I did some searching, and this particular panda, um, as you can see that little number under there, that is the price tag on this piece. So 385,600 for this particular sculpture is what this went for at auction. One thing that Michael Law brought up in an interview that he did with the New York Times is that he was um, saying that he felt like uh, the only reason that these larger figures are considered art, and some people don't consider the designer toys art, is because that they're much larger. So here's an example of a plush panda, same one that you just saw, um, done by Takashi Murakami for Louis Vuitton. And one thing that I forgot to mention in that last slide is that the panda is actually standing on top of a Louis Vuitton steamer trunk, and this is kind of making a reference to um, some design work that Takashi Murakami has done for the brand Louis Vuitton, which is famous for making handbags and wallets. And if you notice some of the flowers and designs on the panda, um, it might kind of bring to mind the famous design that he did for Louis Vuitton, which is the white bag with the brightly colored um, icons on it. If you get a chance, Google it, look it up, and I'm sure that you'll recognize the design, but that was actually done by this particular artist. So he's kind of going back and forth between a lot of different art worlds: commercial art, um, design, industrial design, making these kind of toys and sculptures, and painting. One work that you might be really familiar with is the work that he did for Kanye West's cover art Graduation. You see on the cover some of the stylized eyes and things in the lower right is very characteristic of Murakami, and you can kind of see the same thing happening in the little bear. If you get a chance to see Good Morning, which is a video that Takashi Murakami did for Kanye West, one thing that you'll notice is that at the beginning of the video there is a little copyright down just like here on the bottom that tells us, who who is responsible for the artwork, so there's no question that Murakami did the artwork.